And we are live. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's see what's cooking over on Twitter. I think you gotta wait until it begins. Keeping an eye on my messages. Guys, I hope you're excited as I am. If you hold any amount of pTGC and UFO, you got good reason to be excited. Let me tap on this. Okay. I think it's going live. If you guys know of anybody doing this same thing, streaming a space on YouTube, there is somebody. I think the polls are doing it, and then I heard somebody else had done it. Oh, there we go. Start trying the space. Good morning. Good morning. You're supposed to smile. Smile comes through the mic.
Morning. How you doing?
I am doing good. Zen, how are you?
Good. A little tired.
From last night?
From streaming last night.
How long? It was, I got it pulled up. Actually, it was, the whole stream was 2 hours and 20 minutes. I don't know how long you guys were on.
Yeah, well, that's when the stream ended, but since I was drinking coffee later than I normally do yesterday, just so I could be energetic for the stream, I couldn't really go to sleep after it too much.
I hear you, man. Okay. So I finally, after several nights, had a good night's rest last night. But you, on the other hand, did not.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm someone that, come 7, I, turn everything off. That's when I start going in shutdown mode, because I'm, in bed by 9.
Yeah.
And we're normally putting my son in bed by 8. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my normal routine. And I was stoked to do it. That's nothing against them, but yeah, it just kind of threw off my routine a little bit. So by the time I fell asleep, it was 11, 12. But
yeah, I'm an early to bed, early rise guy. Some people are late night people, sleep in people. Everybody's different. Their biological makeup is different. But yeah, that's me. Early bed, early rise.
I was telling my wife that RG3 must be a work at night kind of person. Maybe he likes chilling during the day and then getting his work done at night, and that's why he does those streams at night. I'm the opposite.
Guaranteed.
I like to get all my work done starting right when I wake up, and then when I get it done, kind of go in more relaxed mode.
Yes. I prefer our Saturday streams, just because I'm more awake or alert. My stomach ain't full from dinner, but you want to do important. In my opinion, you want to do important things early in the day. Yeah, actually, and I don't want to go into all that, but I read a book about it. I'm like, oh yeah, important things need to be done before noon, preferred. But how did the stream go?
I think it went pretty good. RG has he's very, very passionate about the political situation that we're in and what the future is.
Okay.
And we talked about that a little bit, which kind of took away, I think, from the conversation of pTGC and UFO, but I also think was good because it mixed up the conversation a little different than the combo that we have every single time we go on stream. So it was a little bit different, but I think still really good.
Right on. Well, I'm showing for the viewers on YouTube the streams. If you haven't seen it, and I haven't yet, I'm going to download it to my phone as soon as it's available to download. Go to his YouTube. It's Discourse Syndicate. Like the video, make a comment, do him a favor because he did us a favor. Give him some activity on that video if you would, and subscribe to his channel. You don't got to watch his content if you don't want to, but at least subscribe. It helps crypto overall if you sub. So good things are happening, man. I'm so pumped about this cycle, even though, well, you almost want to say, well, UFO and pTGC aren't moving very much. Are you kidding me? I had a conversation with somebody this morning that was about another asset, and he was kind of down in the mouth over it. And I just sent him an image from Deck Screener, zooming out for the lifetime of this whole asset, and just sent it over to him. Like always, if you are not feeling excited about your asset, just zoom out on the chart. And I think if we did that on pTGC, everybody knows what it's going to look like. It's just up and to the right, man. It is up. These tokens they're just absolutely crushing it. Okay, so this morning, Zen, do you remember the chart that I posted on the YouTube when we were doing a space on Saturday morning back in August? And everybody's like, "Oh, we better keep that off of socials." Do you remember that?
No.
It was comparing the market cap of pTGC and UFO from May 2nd or whatever date that UFO launched forward to it was August 14th, I believe. And then the market caps of other pulse chain assets in the same time frame. And then we were blowing their doors off, absolutely blowing the doors off. And I updated that image this morning because I'm thinking about using it in a presentation. But of course, I would exclude the other tickers. But it's still happening, man.
Yeah, you covered their names, right? That was the point. We didn't want to put their tickers out there. We showed it on the chart, but we didn't want to label which ones they were as FUD to them at all. I remember now.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually going to remove the names right now. Yeah, and I'm going to show the viewers on YouTube, and I will talk through for the audience on Twitter what I rediscovered. So from 2 May to 14 December today, pTGC has gone from a $10 million market cap to a $153 million market cap, which is a 16x. UFO went from a $3 million market cap to $78 million market cap, 26x. The other tickers, and we all know the other tickers. We don't need to use their names, and we are paired with these assets. We hold these assets. We love these assets. We promote these assets. But the best asset, and I don't even know which one this is, did an 8x. pTGC 16x in market cap, 16x. UFO 26x. The best asset, 8x in the same time frame. And then the least was like a 0.4, the 0.4x. But
yeah, that's powerful, Banana. That's actually some really, really good data.
Okay, let's break it down even further. So the average X's between pTGC and UFO, 21x. If you just average the X's, that's 21x. The average X's of all the assets that I'm highlighting here, there are, and I think there are, let me get a count, there are 13, because I only picked the big ones. The average of these 13 was 4. So we have 4 on these 13 assets, 21 between pTGC and UFO. That's a 5x above the other assets.
Yeah, no, that information is so valuable, especially because now Where did you start the last time we went over this chart? Was it the same starting date?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that, we pulled this data for a short period of time and we're like, hey, this is what's coming out on the data. And now we're pulling it again and it's the same data for the most part, right?
Exactly. And so it's even more impactful because it just stands to reason this is going to go, this ain't going to peter out next week. You know what I'm saying? Even if I was to buy a bag today, this trend has continued since August, 4 months. It stands to reason it would at least continue for another, I don't know, a month or two. Nobody knows. This is crypto. It could all go to zero, but honestly, the longer a track record we have, the more likely it is to continue.
Well, I'm sure you could technically pull that trend since the launch of pTGC and UFO. Where you're starting with UFO is pretty much the launch because April, but so you kind of have to end the chart for UFO there. But you could probably even pull the pTGC one back a whole nother 6 months, 8 months.
You mean make the starting market cap like 800,000 or something like that?
Yeah, just to show that it's actually this information has been even, because you said it's like we are constantly trending up, and that's off of 6 months of data. I'm sure it's actually longer data than that, but I think if I remember correct, you're kind of pulling off of like the pulse chain lows. So then am I correct there?
Well, I'm starting on the 2nd of May and going to today. And I'm
getting so you're starting just from UFO's launch, pretty much.
Yes. And then getting everything from one source, Dex Screener. So.
Yeah, no, that information is super cool though, Banana. Like very, very, very valuable. I wish I was on YouTube looking at whatever chart you have.
I'll send it to you. I'll tell you what it is in a word. It's devastating. The tab that this data is on, I'm being a little bit, I'm playing it up a little bit, guys. So just bear with me. And you guys got to tone it down. If you're gonna share this out individually, I don't post this on socials. Do not post this on socials. We are winning. We need to continue winning politely. But the tab that this is under, I titled it "Game Over" because it is. The game. We are winning so hard.
Yeah, it's nice, like, because we want those to succeed, because anytime those succeed, it just gives us free X's, right? And who doesn't like free X's?
Yeah. Nobody in our circles.
Yeah. Yeah. By seeing, it's like crypto's always been like this token versus that token, this token versus that token. But like what we have here on Pulse Chain is kind of like you're looking at all the blue chips and they're like, wow, like we're kind of all on a team in this situation, at least with pTGC and UFO, because we're connected to them all. I'm sure a lot of other ones aren't in the same scenario as us, but in our scenario, we're like, come on, Pulse Chain, come on, Pulse X, come on, Pulse X, or Hex, or PHEX, like even PDI, Tropa, Teddy Bear, like we want these things to succeed. Like if they succeed heavily, we succeed heavily. And then whatever we do on top of that is just a multiplier.
Right. Yeah. I look at this, let me call it a small ecosystem. I look at this small ecosystem versus, the tokens that we're paired with as special for certain people. It's like not everybody buys gas at the same gas station. There are multiple gas stations. Not everybody's going to buy pTGC or UFO. They're going to buy Hex. They're going to buy a Tropa, all these other assets that we are paired with. and they're going to go and be successful. I mean, really. But I'm happy to be in this eco. I can tell you what. I sent you that image, by the way, in Telegram.
Cool. Yeah, it is kind of. I can't really think of a great example, but it's kind of to the point where like everyone has a different like favorite player on a team, right? And we're on that team as well, and we might not be everyone's favorite player that they're rooting for, but if that player is still on our team and that player has a great game, we still win the game.
Yes.
If we have a great game, we still win the game. And like some days it doesn't matter if we're the MVP, or let's say P-Hex is the MVP that day. He has a great game that day. At the end of the day, we still win the game with P-Hex, which is nice. Because every day is different. Like someone shines on a different day, which is cool. Like obviously we've been shining the majority of the days, but it's not a bad thing if, one of these other tickers has a good week, a good month, because that's just free baskets for our team. We want to see them score baskets and get our score higher and higher and higher. And I think the time's coming. Like pulse chain is still below sack rate. So I think we're running in the time of the cycle to where pulse chain needs to start moving. And I'm going to be super excited to see pulse chain making some baskets.
Ooh, yeah. And all the other tickers, man. I'm excited for you could almost, going into this bull run, in my opinion, is you can almost pick any horse and you're going to do really well, honestly.
Of the blue chips, I'd say there's a lot of leaky ships out there that will try to tell you differently, but I do think the blue chips from this point will most likely do decent. That's what we're hoping for. I think that's why everyone's really on pulse chain, right? Is they have belief in RA. Description or the just little monologue she gave about pTGC and UFO was amazing last night. Like she showed up and just the things she said about pTGC and UFO were just so kind and nice. It was so awesome to hear. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
She had really nice things to say, and it came out really well also.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for the tip.
It's at the end. It's a long video. The first 20 minutes of the video is only RG3. So if you want to hear it, go ahead and hear it. But if you're listening to it for the pTGC and UFO discussion, you could probably fast forward it.
Okay.
But yeah, then she comes in at the end and, in my opinion, does a really good pTGC UFO, like 5-minute little just monologue of her experience within our ecosystem. It's really nice to hear.
Yep. Sometimes a girl can put a thing across a lot more, or a little more gently, kindly, if you will. That's good. I will listen to that.
Yeah. Also, just hearing it from someone who's been living it, like. Sometimes I feel like when I'm telling people about pTGC and UFO, that's like me telling you my kid's handsome or my kid's cute. Like you're like looking at me like, of course he thinks his kid's cute. It's his kid. But when you hear someone else that's a participant in the ecosystem say, "Oh yeah, that's a cute kid," you're like, "All right, I'll look at this kid. What's this kid got? How cute is he?"
Yeah. I know that's so true. Well, Pulse is doing very well today. It hasn't been this high since April. Oh yeah, man. Since the 20th of April, Pulse has not been this high. Wonderful. It's up. It is up. Let me get my little tool out. For the day, the last 24 hours, it's up 10%.
Oh yeah, that is nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Pulse to get back to its like old all-time highs, the 0.0002. When we get there, our LP web should be sitting around $100 million.
You said when it goes to 0.0002?
Yeah, like it's old where it tapped, I believe in like March, was it?
Yeah. It was.
I think March. Yeah. So when it goes back there, just the multiplier to our liquidity web, this is no additions, no subtractions, obviously considering that there's no ridiculous sell-off on our chart, which we can make, it's not no guarantee, but we can make assumptions just based on the last 12 months of performance, right? We can kind of look at how it's performed in the last 12 months and take educated guesses that when Pulse Chain gets back up to those levels. And it's just crazy to think about, like, this is, I wish I had the data of where our LP web was the last time pTGC, or not pTGC, Pulse Chain was at the 0.0002, because in this last retracement and consolidation of Pulse Chain, we've added tons of LP. And not only added tons of LP, we also have created UFO, which has a huge LP web on its own, and it buys and burns pTGC as well. So once Pulse Chain gets back up to these levels we've seen before, like what I'm predicting is the pTGC and UFO LP web is going to be like $100 million in value, working for us every single day.
Yes. That's easy for us. We're already what? I don't know what the value is on it. The combined value, it's got to be over or around 50 million.
It's like 45, I think. Yeah.
So truthfully, Pulse is up 17% last 24 hours, technically. That's what DexCrater says. I misspoke. I was thinking, like, one of the things I think that perhaps causes a little bit of hesitation in people is that, all through the bear market, there were projects popping off, and we're jumping into project after project sometimes. And then, this pTGC, it was kind of at the tail end of the bear market. And I think perhaps users were like, okay, another project. I don't know if I can bear another one. And besides that, some people they'd spent their whole wad, you know what I mean? Or most of it.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people just leave in the bear market, right? Because it's very, very hard to create a new project in the bottom of the bear market or in the downtrend of the bear market and it be successful. Like, you can have an actual really decent project that would thrive in a bull market, but launched in a bear market when the escalator is just going downhill forever. There's only so much walking up most protocols can do. And we even see this with pTGC and UFO, like the first, half a year, or I would say half a year that pTGC was launched to more than that, like Pulse Chain wasn't actually going up. It was in turn an escalator going down. And if you look at all the projects that launched around the same time as pTGC, there was only so much time that they could actually walk up that down escalator where they just got too tired and had to just let it fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that shows like the strength of pTGC in UFO is it kind of walked up that down escalator, no problem, and just kept going. So once that escalator flips in our favor, and we're still just walking in the upwards direction, well, we know what happens when you walk up an escalator that's going up. You get to your destination twice as fast.
Yeah. I always walk up and up escalator.
Time is money.
Yeah, and I like to be moving physically. I spend too much time sitting as it is. But let's look at the volume. On pTGC in the last 24 hours, the volume is 300,000. Total liquidity is $6.6 million. And this is from secretobank.com. Did you get that image that I sent to you?
I'll look right now. Hold on.
And then for UFO, the volume was, I'm going to call it 400,000. It's so close. And total liquidity is $27.8 million. So it was a little bit slow. I mean, you guys might remember last week when I on right here on here, if you can look at the stream from last week, the UFO volume was $2 million. Very close. It was at least very close to $2 million. So, but we had a lot of obviously buy sell activity last week. It just slowed down a little bit. But am I discouraged? Absolutely not, because this volume, this is 398,000, is far more than it was earlier in the cycle. And same for pTGC. I mean, this is hundreds of thousands of dollars in volume. We were hoping to see that 5 months ago.
Yeah, on my app that I look at volume, it says UFO has $471,000 in volume.
Do you have the? Go ahead.
And Secreto Bank doesn't always pick up all the pairs, so that's what I'm guessing is going on there.
Yes, that is true. Are you using the plugin that Kong made?
Yeah, the widgets on my phone is pretty much what I just look at.
Okay, I got to put those on my phone. Speaking of Kong, how about we do some moon math? Because we didn't even get to that on Monday when we did the space on Monday, and I really wanted to. You want to do some moon?
Yeah, let's do that. I did look at that that chart that you sent over. That's awesome. Is that what you want me to look at?
Yeah. That's just for your
Are you able? So you're going to use that in your presentation.
I'm planning to. Yes.
Are you able? Because I know Excel has like the built-in charts where you can pull the data and put it into like line charts and stuff like that. That'd be sweet if you could put that information into a line chart.
Okay. Run that by me again.
Like if you could put the information in a line chart where each single token has their own line, and then you give the data like monthly. Like, okay, this is the May data point. This is June, July, August, and you can see pTGC and UFO start spreading from everything else.
Oh yeah.
That would be
okay. That'd be a better visual. Okay, I'll figure that out. That's a good idea, dude. Thank you. I think we should. Let's review. I think this is what we're going to do. We're going to review the dashboard, and then do some moon math, and then hit the reflections. So let's review the dashboard. This is look into ptgc.com. If you guys want if you want the full version, the premium version, it's like $17 a month. Kong spent hours and hours, and he still does spend hours building this site, and it's a banger, man. We wanted something like this for a long time, and he did it single-handedly. So we're going to review the dashboard. if I'm going to key in on certain stuff, Zen, if you want me to key on anything that you want me to, just let me know. Okay. I always.
Yeah. I also want to say, just everyone listening, this space is for you guys. So if you guys, when we're talking, have a question or even have a question about the stuff Banana is bringing up on this data sheet, or have even something you want us to plug in to these websites, just feel free to raise your hand and come up, and we'll answer the questions, or we'll just plug in some numbers that you want to see.
Yes, please. Yep. Yeah. Not that we forget that, but we just get to talking, and yeah, we want you guys to interact. If you got questions, jump up. pTGC market metrics. Here's the price: 305. The volume in the last 24 hours was $333,000. Liquidity is $16.5 million. Only 925 transactions in the last 24 hours. Why did I say only? Because I'm expecting that to increase. pTGC WPLS price is 6. So this is the ratio: 6.2 pulls per pTGC. 294.8 billion tokens in circulation. We are 19x from a penny. I just can't believe that, man. I'm just so excited. So we were talking in the chat overnight. Not so much me, somebody else, and a few guys were talking, and they're like, I think we might be in a penny in a few months. Like a few months. Like for old guys, it's a blink. But I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if you follow the trend, that could happen. But we're 19x away from a penny right now. The fiat.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with, it's kind of funny, like if Pulse Chain starts moving here, like Pulse Chain could move really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get a multiplier of all those X's. Even if it doesn't start moving quick and it kind of consolidates, we can also do X's over that, because naturally what I think would happen is people tend to not sit on their hands too well. And if we keep uptrending and Pulse Chain kind of sits a little bit stagnant, they'll probably keep rotating over to us, because we're educating them obviously on what this is. We are connected to all the RH tickers with deflationary tokenomics and APY just for holding. And that APY is not coming from inflation. So it's coming from actual tokens being bought out of the existing supply, also increasing the price. And really, when you sit down and write it out and think about it, you're like, damn, this is a pretty good hold. And that's not even just off of the data for the last 12 months. Then when you look at the data for your last 12 months, you're like, okay, what I just ran through, just talking about how it's connected to every single RH ticker in the blue chips on chain, and it moves with them. You get an average of all their movement. It also has its own deflationary tokenomics. It also pays you APY, and that APY is also not coming from inflation. It's coming from actual buys on the chart, increasing the price, and then landing in my wallet. And then you look at the past performance, you're like, damn, well, that's what happens when you have those mechanics built in with being connected to all the blue chips. It starts, to just be a trend of upwards in the right. And we talked about this last night, Banana. That doesn't mean someone can't sell a large amount onto the chart. That doesn't mean we can't have a dip. That doesn't mean that after the bear market, we aren't going into a bear market and everything will consolidate. Those things do happen still.
Yeah.
We've seen plenty of big sells on the charts of pTGC and UFO for the last year. I've seen tons of people that were once whales kind of dwindle away their whole entire stack.
Yeah.
So the machine has absorbed all these things. You can't really tell. If you just are getting in today, you're like, you don't know that the machine has absorbed all these people, but it has. And that actually makes me even more confident in the system. If you know the amount of sellers it's already absorbed to date, that shows that we can absorb them no problem in the future.
100%.
And just in trajectory. But the machine itself is no guarantee that there isn't going to be a big player that dumps their whole bag. This is any token that's out there. It's all self-custody. Everyone's in charge of their own finances. You don't know when other people's timelines are, right?
Yes. I think somebody dumped I want to say $200,000 worth of UFO yesterday, and the chart was bought right back up. I think
it's more than that, Banana. So within 24 hours, even the day before, he dumped over 500K of UFO.
Wow.
No one even noticed if you looked at the chart.
I sure didn't. I learned it from the chat.
Yeah, so our system can absorb 500K cells and no one can even notice. That's, in my opinion, the only tickers that can do that on chain are RH's tickers. Those are the only things that have enough liquidity to absorb stuff like that.
So what you're saying is we are equivalent to an RH ticker. I
wouldn't say that. I think
in that respect,
we are earning our spot at the table currently. like there's blue chips and they're all at the table, and right now we're working for our spot at that table. We want to be at that spot on the table of Pulse Chain.
Yeah.
I see Mando giving me thumbs down right now. Mando, add to the combo. What are you telling me?
He may not be able to come up right now. If you can, Mando, you can just jump in.
You can send me a DM too, and I'll read it.
No, I was just saying, man, we're definitely not at RH ticker status yet. Definitely not there. Getting there,
sorry, go ahead.
The fact that you can take a $500,000 exit and you barely even notice it on the chart. I was in Miami, and I really wasn't even paying attention, and I called Zen when I got back, and I didn't even notice that happened. I was like, wow, that didn't even really register on the chart. So, but the fact that we're here now before, again, guys, the great revaluation, which still hasn't happened yet. If you're staring at, a $400 million liquidity pool compared to what it is now, a $500,000 sell on the chart is going to be not even a blip.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mando. Just if you think about this simple analogy, like 2 days or a day ago, we absorbed that 500K sell, and no one could really notice unless you're studying the system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if Pulse Chain does a 10x and someone sells $500,000, that would be the equivalent of a $50,000 sell today. No one even noticed. Well, what would be the equivalent of the $500,000? $5 million sell. Yeah. And we could absorb it like nothing.
There you go.
Like, that's real crypto.
I love that.
Not saying I want people to do $5 million sells, but it's good to know that we have a system that can absorb it if it comes. Because most systems cannot. That's the honest truth. Even the biggest players in the game would have a hard time absorbing something like that.
Well, and not just absorb, but actually benefit from, which is something you just cannot say about really anything. Now, yeah, you have a short-term dip on the chart. That just presents an opportunity for everybody else who wants more tokens, and for the ARB bots to re-ARB it up to a certain level. And then the system just keeps moving. The fact that, somebody can sell now $500,000 at these levels, which I think is just dumb because it's just way early. Yeah. It's just way too early. But, and it doesn't even affect the chart. And it just pays everybody, pays the system. It's just phenomenal. Now, the first good sell we had was like a couple of weeks ago, where the guy did like 153,000 that kind of came in and just did a quick kind of trade over a couple of weeks. And I think that was on UFO as well. And it was like it barely did anything. And then we had this guy come in with a much larger sell and it barely did anything. So the fact that, guys, that's what people look for in crypto. They look for the ability to actually be in a real crypto that you can sell and buy and do what you want. And it's a fully liquid cryptocurrency. You know, if your cryptocurrency isn't liquid, it makes it much harder, right? So we love kind of seeing these metrics come in, or I do anyway, because it gives you a good gauge. It's like a litmus test. And I know like Shaka and Coach and everybody that really watches the thing, it's a litmus test, right? Well, what does it do for me? It makes me more bullish. Because if you're a holder and you can watch somebody exit with $500,000 and it doesn't even ding the chart, well, what does it look like at a 10x from here? Right? You're holding a real asset is what I'm saying. That's super backed by blue chips with so much liquidity. You can do anything you want. It's a very powerful system at that point. Basically just becomes a monolithic cryptocurrency on chain that's just as big as any other crypto on any other blockchain at that point.
Yeah, and Mando, let's be honest, like we want to attract big players from other blockchains, right? Like I do feel confident that we'll make a lot of big players here on Pulse Chain. I believe that we have some big players here on Pulse Chain, but we also want to be attractive to the large players on Ethereum, BNB. And these big players want to move into very liquid assets, because if you're a big player, you need to have a lot of liquidity to move around. Just recently, I posted the picture of a whale in a fish tank, because a big player cannot move into small liquidity pools. He takes up too much of the space.
Right.
He needs to have plenty of liquidity to move around freely. And that's what's cool about, pTGC and UFO is we are really working on providing the liquidity so big players can actually come and play. You see a lot of protocols out there that are wishing for big players to come and play, but they're not actually giving them the environment to play in. And I feel like that's something that's overlooked with pTGC and UFO is we're really working towards the goal of setting up the situation they are looking for.
Yeah, nobody wants to push the price against themselves 25%,
Well, and then when if you are too big in the ecosystem, like think about it. Like let's say you have a bucket of water and it's filled up, a half the bucket full, right? And you throw a rock into that bucket. Well, if then the water level rises to let's say it could rise to the top of the bucket. That's like a whale entering a system with lack of liquidity. He's just going to raise the water up against himself. And then what happens when he goes to exit? When you remove that rock, the water level drops back to half the bucket. That's all that's happening when these big players enter in and out of projects with lack of liquidity. But let's say you put that big rock in a pool, like in an actual swimming pool. Now that rock can go into the actual swimming pool and the water level didn't change. They can move freely in and out without affecting the whole system. And not only affecting the whole system, but also affecting their own personal buys and sells. Because if they slip the price against themselves too much, they're putting themselves at risk. Because then when they enter, previous smaller fish will sell out, ruining his DCA, making it so he's actually now down on his money. But if he can enter into a system without a lot of slippage, there's actually a more likely chance other people aren't going to sell on his buy-in, right? Because he didn't slip the price up on himself while entering.
Yeah, right now, a $500,000 purchase of Pulse and UFO, price impact is 7.79. It's now you 10x the liquidity web, and you're basically down like at under a percent.
Yeah.
phenomenal.
We have a question on YouTube. How might Richard Hart potentially impact your project if he notices that pTGC and UFO tokens are outperforming his own tokens?
Richard Hart has already noticed every token on the blockchain that's outperforming his tokens. What is he going to do? Shut everybody down for performing well on his blockchain?
Well, not even to mention where I would say we definitely aren't like the biggest purchaser of RH tickers, but we're for sure making an impact and doing what we can with our system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the liquidity is all in his DEX. With pTGC, it's all burned in the DEX. These are immutable smart contracts, you know?
Yeah, we have a farm built on his DEX as well. So I think we're doing very well by, if he's noticing us outperform, we're also doing very well to support his ecosystem at the same time, which makes sense.
Yeah, you have a lot of people on chain that all they do is talk shit about RH, and then they try to build, entire token ecosystems on his blockchain. It's asinine, right? This is the exact opposite of that. We absolutely love RH. I mean, that's the whole point of being here. As a matter of fact, building something like this on any other blockchain would be very difficult to do in terms of trusting that much burnt liquidity on a chain in a DEX. You know, that's
well, and going back, Mando, to like, if this was built on another chain, what our teammates would be, our connected LP pools, would not be the tokens they are today. They wouldn't be Hex. They wouldn't be Pulse. They wouldn't be PulseX. Like, who would they be? Like, who are we putting on our team then? Ethereum? Like, Ethereum's already done 1,000x. Why would, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but why would that be beneficial for that to be on our team? Like, we want RH tickers on our team. They're not even above stack rate yet. They have tons of game to play.
Yeah, and we are in the PulseX DEX. That process, obviously has to go through the Chingon. The logos are there. Not every ticker on Pulse Chain do you find the logos on PulseX DEX. That there's a process of elimination with that. A lot of people don't know that, but there is an actual process to getting your logos on PulseX. And so, yeah, Richard absolutely knows about everything that's doing well on Pulse Chain.
Yeah, I think like right now, and it's not confirmed if he wants eHex to thrive and come to parity with pHex, but we are the second biggest LP pair with Hex on all of Pulse Chain. The only other pair that's bigger than our pair is the Hex to Hex pair on Pulse Chain, pHex to eHex. The second biggest one is UFO to eHex.
The other way to look at it too is, if somebody wants to take profits from one ticker into another ticker, right? You have to look at the web. And if you're looking at something like UFO or pTGC, that web is constructed of mainly RH tickers and the blue chip tickers on chain. So if you're going to be taking profits, what are you taking profits in? Well, you're selling right back into Pulse Chain. That's not a bad thing for Pulse Chain, for people to be taking profits into Pulse Chain or taking profits into Hex or Ink or whatever they like. So the prospect of a protocol doing well that is bonded in liquidity with RH tickers means that at some point you have to sell that thing and buy his ticker. That's not a bad thing for his ticker. for people to be buying his ticker that are in games. So the parade of imaginary horribles of, oh, this guy who preaches pure decentralization and immutability and all these things is going to go rogue and start, going after anything that's doing better than his things on the chain, that are paired with his things on the chain. It's completely illogical.
Yeah, I agree. He can't necessarily even touch pTGC and UFO. They're smart contracts. Honestly, they're immutable code. Let's continue with the dashboard at lookintoptgc.com, and then we can go to the reflections, because there is a question on YouTube about what we're going to get into when we review the reflections. So the total fee allocation for the last 24 hours was $17,000. $1,700 was used to buy and burn pTGC. $1,700 was added to liquidity. $3,400 was sent to holders in reflections. $3,400 was sent to stakers. And $6,800 was sent to the DAO. And that's pTGC. Let's move on to UFO. UFO is 120x away from a penny. The last 24 hours, fee allocations were $29,000. $14,500 was sent to LP providers and rewards. $4,800 bought and burned UFO. $4,800 was sent to holders in rewards as reflections. And then $4,800 bought and burned pTGC. And then let's go to the reflections tab. This gentleman asks, how much did you say a sharp position in pTGC would make in reflections from $50 million in daily volume? Let's go over that. And I might need you guys to kind of walk me through this a little bit. I was reviewing it this morning, but I think I can do it. Let's see. I got to pop an address in here. We're going to do pTGC. Let me make sure I have this address on my clipboard. And we're going to be in experiment mode. Just a second. Get this address. Paste it. Calculate the yields. And we'll set the volume to 50 million. Yeah, that's at the top of that band. So if we had $50 million of volume on pTGC, given that this wallet address is a squid, it holds 9 million pTGC. Let me scroll down a little bit. Let's see. Hold up. Where do I see the monthly yield? Oh, here it is down here. The yield. This is yield for a Sidon. Where do I see the yield? Oh, here it is. Sorry, guys. Daily yield would be $19. So for 9 million pTGC, $50 million of volume on the token amongst all the pairs, $50 million in volume, and a holder of 9 million pTGC would see $19 a day, $570 a month, $7,000 a year. That's pretty juicy. And the APY
is this pTGC or UFO?
pTGC. And the APY would be.
Two things I want to point out.
What's that?
Two things I'm listing. I don't look at your screen, so I don't know, but the number, the 9 million, that isn't even like squid position. that's I think 3 times a squid position,
Yes, three.
if I'm correct.
Yep, that's 3 squids.
3 squids. And also, I don't think any of these numbers are including staking rewards.
That's correct. Yep, I forget that every time.
So
I'm going to stop doing that. That's right, man.
I'm hoping it gets added to where you could pull a toggle and add like a rough estimation of staking rewards, because it's roughly 140%, maybe 130%. Easily you could double it, and that's guaranteed, because if you're a staker, you're sharing it with less people, and it's the same percentage you're receiving. So
Yes.
you could ultimately more than double all those numbers.
Yeah. So it'd be about, it could be like, let's see, so $14,000 a year, over $1,000 per month, like $1,200 a month for 3.2 squid positions. So how much does a squid position cost? $1 million right now. A million tokens right now is $500. So this would be about a $5,000 position. So $5,000 spend for, granted, the volume in this instance, $50 million. And that would be $1,200 per month. And then what you do is you pull that volume back 90% for bear market comparison. So that would be, draw that down to $5 million in volume. Let me get it there. Okay, close enough. $5.1 million in volume. Monthly yield $58. Yearly yield $710. But all the while, in a bear market, your position is increasing as long as you don't sell any of the principal.
Correct. Could we also look at some of the larger positions and what those would cost today to get to?
Yeah.
With that same scenario, I like that scenario where you say, like, you know, in the bull we could get up to 50 mil, but you know, if there's a 90% retracement, usually volume will retrace as well. I think that was pretty good.
Okay, so let's start where we are with the $5 million in volume. We're at retrace mode, guys. So we're at $5 million in volume. A shark would garner, and this is only in reflections, it would garner $61 a day, and you could double that for if those tokens are staked. And this is only one shark. $61 a day, $1,800 per month, $22,000 per year. So $22,000 a year, and including staking, that'd probably be $45,000 to $50,000 a year for one shark at $5 million in volume. Let's crank it up a little bit to, let's put it back at $50 million. The max. I'm hoping that Kong needs to adjust that bar scale. Shark. Let's just go straight to the annual. Would be $220,000 per year at $50 million in volume. Double, and you could double that if you include staking. $450,000 in a year. I love
And that currently, if you're brand new to pTGC, if you wanted to get a shark position today, you would have to come in with $146,000.
Yes. Let's review dolphins, because shark is out of reach for many people. A dolphin at $50 million in volume, and I'm going to include staking. $45,000. It'd probably be more like $50,000. One dolphin position. If you get two, you could double that. It could be $100,000 per year for two dolphin positions at $50 million in volume. Now let's tone that down, back down to $5 million for bear market simulation. Dolphin. Okay, and today's cost $14,600 for a dolphin position today. And at $5 million in volume, it would be $5,000 per year. But 2 dolphin positions would be $10,000 per year. That good?
Yeah, I think that was good.
I think we should do UFO while we're here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And this is helping me get familiar with this page too. And we're just going to do the same numbers, at least at first, $5 million and $50 million. Let me make sure it calculated it. I'm using the same address. $5 million in volume. Let's go straight to dolphin. And there's no staking for UFO, and this is not going to include reflections for LPing, right? Or does it? I
No,
don't think it does.
this is just holding reflections. This has nothing to do with LP providing.
Okay. Annually, it would be $2,000 for one dolphin position, which in today's dollars costs $7,000. One dolphin position costs $7,000 and would garner $2,000 at a $5 million volume. And I think if you just move it up to 50 million, it would 10x that. It would be $20,000.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other positions you want to look at in here?
I think, I like looking at the shark and the dolphin. I feel like if someone's serious about the ecosystem, a dolphin's a good goal. You know, if you are someone who's a little bit more, you have a little bit more finances available, you could shoot for the shark or multiple shark positions if you really wanted to. Yes. And then obviously the whale, in these scenarios, the whale is looking really juicy. Like right now we're at the 50 million in volume. And if you were a whale, you would be receiving 2.2 million just for holding pTGC. That would be over $4 million if you're holding and staking and you acquired a whale position and volume got up to 50 million on average for the year.
That'd be $2 million, right?
Well, you have to times it by 2 because you can hold and stake.
Not UFO though. You must be talking about pTGC. I'm sorry, I must have missed something.
Right now. Yeah. UFO would just be just holding. But if you really think about it, and I know a lot of people do not have this money on the side, but right now that costs 1.4, so $1.5 million to get a whale position today. But there is possibilities that, and these are no guarantees, so let me say that, but there is possibilities that this could be paying $5 million in passive yield a year if we hit those high volume numbers and Pulse Chain is successful. And you could actually take that yield and sell it onto the market and never touch your initial, and your initial will continue to grow in size due to the deflationary tokenomics of the system. So you will continue to earn more rewards by just not tapping into your initial, and you could still, take profits, etc., or take yield and exit out, or whatever you want to do, or compound with the system.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a rental property that's cash flowing every month and it meets your needs, why sell it? My goal is to not sell any of my principal. On that note, everybody could sell all of their yield and it wouldn't even affect the chart. Well,
Yeah, the yield is only paid out due to volume, right? So
Yes.
it's actual generated value. Like, of course, that yield that you sell will create a little bit of down pressure on the chart, but just recently, that yield was bought on the chart. So before that yield was paid to you, it was an increase on the chart. And then if you decided to take it out, that would be a decrease on the chart. But it would be very, very little, and it would not be touching any of your initial.
Mhm.
And another interesting thing to think about is when that yield is paid out to you, not only is that yield actually bought right then, but also the system is constantly putting more PLS into the liquidity pools at the same time.
Yes.
So it's not only backed by the buy that gave you that yield, or even if it's a sell, like if someone sells and you get a portion of that sell, you have to think at one point, those tokens were bought.
Yeah.
They were not created out of nowhere. So it came from a buy on the chart. Even if that buy on the chart was 6 months ago, a week ago, a day ago, at one point they came from a buy on the chart. They didn't come out of nowhere. And at that same time that they're paid to you, there's more value going into back the system to support the longevity and the sustainability of the product.
I'm writing some of this down. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any points they want to bring up? Do you want to do any more work on looking into ptgc.com?
We could run a quick Moon Math 2.0 scenario about like value being injected into our system and what kind of X's that can equal.
Okay.
I have it in front of me actually right now. I could run through this, or no, you run through it because you got it on your YouTube.
Okay. Do you want to do the Moon Math 2.0 or the other Moon Math?
Moon Math 2.0.
Okay. So I need a contract address. You want to start with pTGC?
Yeah, you could do the quick links too.
Oh. Yes. Of course. I was looking at this morning. I don't understand it.
Perfect. We can go through it right now and you'll understand it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to share my screen, guys. Sorry about that. There we go.
That's why we're here, Banana. Let's get you understanding this.
Yeah. We learn together. Okay, so we selected pTGC, $100 million.
Yeah. So do you know what this $100 million is simulating?
Market cap.
No.
Ha. I tried.
This is $100 million injected into pTGC.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
Imagine a market buy of $100 million coming into pTGC currently today. So based on the liquidity web we have right now, you can calculate the X's that would happen to pTGC. And these are X's over Pulse Chain. So these are the numbers that we can use as the X multiplier in the basic Moon Math setup.
Okay.
So for an example, if you calculate the pTGC with $100 million of value injected at our current liquidity pool size, that's 177X. Do you see that?
All right, I'm interrupting you. Are we authorized to show this to the audience?
Ugh, I don't know.
I removed it from the screen, but we can talk about it. Okay. We're just not going to show it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. So with $100 million injected into pTGC, that's 177X.
Yes.
And that's against Pulse Chain. Now we're able to multiply this X by the X's of Pulse Chain. Let's say Pulse Chain did a 10X. Well, that would be a 1,777x from here. Let's take it back one digit. So let's do 10 million.
Okay.
Instead of 100 million injected, let's say 10 million got injected. That's a 4.98, so a 5x.
Yes.
So that's the x that we can use as the x multiplier. So let's say, again, in that scenario, pulse chain does a 10x. Well, we just did a 5x. So we're able to multiply the two together. That's the basic moon math that we use on stream. Maybe you can pull that one up, Banana, if you want. That equals a 50x for pTGC holders. And that's the simulation of $10 million coming into pTGC and pulse chain doing a 10x. That's a 5x times a 10x.
Yep. It's going to be fun.
So UFO has more liquidity, so the X's aren't as much, because how these X's works is on each liquidity side, there's the UFO side, and then there's like the ticker that we're connected to side. And if you multiply the system that we're connected by, so let's say we have $10 million of liquidity and $5 million gets injected, so one side of the pair, you do a 4x. That's how these market makers work. RH has many tweets about this. So what we're doing is we're creating the same scenario with more than just that side. Like, for an example, right now we're injecting $100 million into UFO. Well, what's that equal? That would be a 69x on UFO against pulse chain. Let's say pulse chain does a 10x. That would be a 690x for UFO holders. The thing that gets me even more bullish than the X's to the price is the X's to the liquidity web. Now, the liquidity web wouldn't evenly X up due to so much price increase on UFO. So you're able to increase the liquidity web evenly when the price of the connected tokens go up. So let's say Pulse Chain as a whole went up 10x. Well, our liquidity web will increase by 10x then. That's very easy to calculate. A little bit harder is if UFO increases in price, it doesn't increase evenly. The price actually starts to run away from the liquidity. It's more like half. So in this scenario, I'm going to drop it now. In this scenario, if Pulse Chain did the 10x and UFO did the 69x, equaling a 690x, this is a lot of value being injected. That's $100 million getting injected into UFO. A lot of value, not impossible, but definitely a journey, right, to get there. You wouldn't get the 690x to the liquidity web. You would probably be sitting more like at a 300x to the liquidity web. But still, if you think about it, UFO has $27 million in liquidity times 300. That'd be over $8 billion in liquidity.
Let's do it. I'm kidding, but yeah, I think we're heading there. I hope.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how all this is going to play out. I'm very, very interested to see how the system starts to react to Pulse Chain actually moving up in price. Every time we've seen Pulse Chain moving up in price, we move up more. We've seen this multiple times now. When Pulse Chain did a 4x, we did a 40x. Just recently, we saw Pulse Chain move up from like 0.00004 to 0.0008. So it did a 2x. But what did we do? From that exact point, we're up like 10x. So if we look at the past performance, every time Pulse Chain starts to move up, we start to move up even more, multiplied. due to the system. Mathematically, we understand how that works. And then if you think about it, we all believe pulse chain has so much more to go.
Mm-hmm.
How much more? I don't know. I have optimistic numbers, and then I also have
conservative
numbers. Yeah. We
Yes.
don't really know, but I do know if we look at all the past performance of pTGC and UFO, we have outperformed every time it moves up due to it enhancing our machine. As pulse chain moves up, our machine gets enhanced. And again, this isn't a guarantee that there won't be a big player that sells down the chart. There can always be a big sell on the chart. We have actually seen this throughout the entire existence of pTGC and UFO. We do have things on our side that mechanically absorb these big sells, though. And that is more than most systems have. So we can hedge ourselves against what always happens in crypto to create sustainability.
If Pulse 10x's and pTGC only moves against Pulse 2.5x per month, and it has averaged more like 25x, in 6 months, pTGC would be 6 cents, 150x if Pulse 10x's. What do you think is going to happen with the SEC this month? There's some sort of decision going to be made, or something like in December. Is it in December? Or I had heard January, but I keep hearing December. Do you know anything about that?
I've heard someone say that the judge will be giving an answer before they go on vacation. I don't know if that was just like a hope or that was actual facts. I hope that's true, because that could set us up for a good Christmas and holiday season due to our most likely a price increase if there's positive news from that. And then I also look at it as like the holiday season is a time where people talk with their friends and families and actually interact with their people in their lives, to where a good chunk of the year we're not actually interacting heavily with our family and friends because we're stuck in the hustle and bustle of work, just making ends meet, the struggles of life. But I do think stuff slows down in the holiday season. And when we have those gatherings, if we have good news on Pulse Chain, we have price increase on Pulse Chain, like all these things start to add up, I think naturally it's a good time for the word of what Pulse Chain really is and what we have gone through and beaten, like especially if good news comes out of the SEC case, like the trenches we went through and then succeeded through, it would be a good time that I think a lot of people will be telling their friends and families, which then obviously possibly onboards people to this chain.
Right. To take that a step further, if there's any positive news about SEC case, it could be reflected, and I imagine it would be reflected in RH tickers. And I believe that there are people that would rotate assets from gains in any RH tickers into our ecosystem. I think perhaps people are intending to do that. I think there must be. I mean, there must be at least a handful of people that are just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. And then if there's good news, RH tickers pump, they're like, okay, now's my chance. I'm going to take some of these gains over to pTGC or UFO.
Yeah, and really we don't need them to, right? Is the price increasing of the RH tickers alone increases our ticker's price. But 100%, if a portion of that drops down into our ecosystem, the reflexivity situation kicks in, or the X multiplier situation kicks in. And that's what really increases the growth of these small tickers. Like RH has a specific tweet talking about how this exact situation will impact Hex. As Pulse Chain increases in price, as people come over to Pulse Chain, they land on Pulse. Naturally, from Pulse increasing in price, it's going to increase the price of Hex. Well, what happens if a portion of those funds trickle down to Hex? Well, now it's going to increase the price of Hex, not only from people coming to Pulse Chain due to Hart's Law, but then also from a portion of those falling onto Hex, which then creates the X multiplier effect for Hex also. So the same mechanic that we're using to leverage ourselves to increase our price, RH has actually designed in his system as well. We're working off the same idea. A cool thing for us is we are also connected to Hex. So if reflexivity happens to Hex, if Hex outperforms Pulse Chain by a 4x, we get the average of both based on our liquidity web and our liquidity pool sizes with each. So now we're getting even more free X's just from the multiplication of the things we're attached to. And now if a portion of those funds trickle down to our small pool, our small cup, like our small community, we are now able to get additional X's on top of that and multiply it by everything we just got free from the RH ecosystem increasing. It's going to be so fun to watch.
Absolutely.
It hasn't even played out yet.
I'm giddy with excitement. I really am. We're so close to a penny. Who has a comment? Who wants to come up and say a few words? We are coming up at the bottom of the hour. I don't know how long we're going to go.
Just wanted to jump on here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. If no one has any convo to add or questions, I'd say we're probably getting to a good point. But
Zen, there's somebody talking.
Oh, my bad.
So again,
Maybe
go
they
ahead,
can drop
bud.
down, come back up.
Or wait, or drop down, come back up, bud.
Yeah, but the gentleman that was talking, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I was going to share my light bulb moment with you guys. I was down in Vegas sitting across from Coach and talking about pTGC and the whole community. And at this point, I thought it was just an hourglass game. I just knew there were fees going in and fees coming out. And it wasn't until I sat down and talked with him that he explained that this isn't just a tax token or a transaction fee token, that this actually puts the bots to work for you and makes the bots eat a lot of the slippage when they arbitrage. And that's when the light went off for me, and I realized this is something a little bit better and special. And that's when I had TDZen on my channel to like kind of figure out where he came up with this idea and what his motives were behind it. And it was crazy how many things that he and I were both trying to solve in the ecosystem when it comes to harnessing economic energy and keeping it in the system. So I just wanted to share that real quick. Thanks.
Thanks, Pulse Ray. Appreciate that. Zen, are you back?
Here, I can't hear anything that he said.
Has anybody else had any light bulb moments? Yeah. CH says, pass me some peanuts.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Pulse Ray, if you have anything more to add, you could drop down and then just come back so I could hear you. But if that was it, then that's probably fine. If no one else has anything that they want to add, we'll probably just be shutting it down. But this space is for questions and comments just on the ecosystem. If anyone wants to just come up and say what they like about the ecosystem, you're welcome to do that as well, even if you don't have any questions. All right. I don't think we have anyone, Banana. Is there anything you want to go over before we shut it down? We could run through the tweets real quick and then
Let's do that.
Call it a day.
Yeah, let's run through the tweets. And then I want to make sure that I mention tomorrow I'm going to walk through pTGC and UFO in particular for people that are new, that just maybe don't understand how the reflections work or the staking or the LPing for UFO. So I will do that tomorrow. That'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. So let's review Twitter. Yeah, there was at least, I think there were at least 2 posts since Monday that I did want to review. So let's go to the Twitter page, which one should I go to first? Pulse TGC or the Gray 369?
Either. It don't matter. We'll hit them both real quick.
Okay. The Grays is smashing it with its one-of-a-kind, first in its class, alien technology and liquidity web volatility protocol. pTGC is looking like it wants to breach the all-time high again. And as the machine continues on its mission, the Grays added more fuel to the fire today, adding an additional $32,000 of burned liquidity to the pTGC Hex LP. And that's Hex that can never be recovered. The Grays now has essentially $1 million in liquidity with Hex and growing. As aliens stack more RH tickers at discounted prices, everything is bullish. The future is looking phenomenal. The Grays ecosystem is killing it. Just week after week, day after day, we're adding to those LP pools. It's beautiful.
Yeah, they're increasing in size, and we're just still so early here on Pulse Chain, right? So,
and here's another one. This was the 11th. Last night, the Grays added another $48,000 to the pTGC Pulse X LP and burned it. This is just one of many LP ads. Currently, the LP web between pTGC and UFO exceeds $40 million. When the mean of the Pulse chain tickers does a 10x from current prices, the Grays ecosystem could be sitting on top of a liquidity web worth $400 million. The reevaluation of the liquidity web is upon us, and we are witnessing it happening in real time. As the LP web grows, it creates a snowball effect on the system's mechanics. Larger pools generate more revenue, which in turn increases market buy and burns, creating scarcity, adding to the liquidity pools, and providing yield to holders. This loop does not stop. And with Pulse Chain's expansion, pTGC and UFO is just beginning this journey. Yeah, man. Okay. Let's go to the other one. Or did you say they're identical? Basically the same posts.
okay, cool.
Yeah, I think we're done with that. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably a good point, unless you have anything to add.
CH says, I think it's a she, whatever. Do you think Elon will sell the nation's debt to the aliens, broker a deal with them of some kind? That's funny.
I don't know if my Twitter feed just pushes me all these UFO videos or if that's everyone's Twitter feed, but my Twitter feed has been filled with UFO sightings in New Jersey these last few days. And I find it super interesting because that was kind of part of like the idea of the narrative of aliens is like there's just always this reoccurring theme that happens where they just always seem to be coming back up in media. And that's the kind of like narrative I think that's so fun and exciting for like a crypto token, is something that just keeps coming up. Like I even saw a post on Yahoo Finance where Yahoo Finance said aliens are using cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm.
Right. Right now, it's getting absolutely insane because you've got literal orbs flying around New Jersey and all over the place, and they're, the conversation is legitimately there at the moment. Like, people are seeing these orbs flying around everywhere. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like literally some people are thinking like it's in the middle of like a modern day invasion, or these are UFOs, because the definition of a UFO is an unidentified flying object, or they're just owned by someone else besides gray aliens or what, but it's still happening. Like there's so many videos coming out. We are on the front line of it. Like when I was thinking about like a theme, because everything, like if you think about like a sports team, right? A sports team is a community. They all have a mascot. Why? Because it brings people together. It's fun. Like, why wouldn't a token have a mascot? Why wouldn't a gray alien or a UFO be such a fun theme to a token? Like, it's constantly reoccurring in the news. We are tapping into a form of alien tech. We have proven that the technology that we have working behind us is a leg above everything else that everyone has seen on other blockchains, and even this blockchain. I think just all of this is really, really coming together. And yeah, UFOs are in the media and news like crazy right now. So it's perfect that we have this theme before everyone else tries to mimic it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tweeted out a really good, it's about a 45-minute monologue by Jay Dyer, who's the host of the Alex Jones Show, on what I think it is, and like what I think the most reasonable response to it is. If anybody is interested in getting different perspectives on it, you can check that post out on my account. But nonetheless, it is interesting that we're seeing it on TV, we're seeing it on the news, we're seeing it everywhere, and it's aliens everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's fun. It's an idea that everyone's kind of ran through their head. I think it's a theme in crypto that people have tried to do, but they haven't been successful with. And just that alone gives us a great opportunity to be that token. The alien theme, the UFO, the space theme. Like in crypto, we always talk about like going to the moon. It's always relevant to like space and going up. I think it's about time that an alien themed token really takes over. Like the theme fits the industry, and we mechanically and systematically have it planned out to literally be one of the top tokens. Like we talk about SHIB's liquidity on DEXs. We're already past, if you combined our two tokens, SHIB's liquidity on DEXs. But what happens if Pulse Chain 10x's? Like we'll have 400 million in liquidity. Like this is at a certain point, this kind of stuff has to start getting attention. It has to start catching eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to become an elephant in the room, and Pulse Chain in general is going to become an elephant in the room that you can just not talk about. You can just not talk about.
Yeah, I think for anybody who's been here the entire time, very close to the pulse of this movement, you can tell that there's a tipping point coming. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with the case if she if she diminishes what's going on there, I think you're going to have an explosion. Whether she throws it out or just kind of really diminishes the impact, of it. But you can sense something's going on. All these strange tweets from Binance, with the heart and the pulse behind it, and it's pegged to $1 and whatever. There's these narratives are popping out left and right, and you can feel pulse chain, kind of like a volcano, and the energy of the magma that's just starting to gurgle underneath, and it just feels like it's getting ready to blow.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of things coming together that are very, or potentially very bullish. Not the least of which is, it's just the market cycle, which is coming up, which we're actually in, and then the next presidential administration, in my opinion, is extremely bullish, and I think it has the potential to not only make the cycle more volatile to the upside, but perhaps even extend it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, Zen?
Okay, I guess last call. If anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to come up and ask them. If not, I'll be shutting it down. Okay. Yeah. So I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who came up and spoke with us today. Mando, thank you for coming up and adding to the conversation. And everyone who's listening in the space, if you had a question, just didn't feel free coming up and asking, you can always ask on Bananas YouTube in the chat. And also now we're doing VCs on Tuesdays and Thursdays in our Telegram. So if you kind of like more of a private, non-recorded setting, just jump in there and we can answer the questions as well.
That's a fair point. So tomorrow, I'll just run through the schedule real quick. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. on my channel, 5 p.m. Eastern. Monday, we'll have another space, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Voice chat Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll have another AMA, just like tomorrow. Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Voice chat Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. And we'll have a space again next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. That's the schedule. Plenty of opportunities to get in and ask questions, interact, and learn about these protocols and get educated. Yeah. It was a good space today.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming in. Bye.
Thanks, Zen. Everything went well. The ending was a little bumpy. You got to admit, sometimes goodbyes can be awkward. That was one, but it's all good. See you guys. If you want to jump in on the stream tomorrow, the AMA, you're certainly welcome to do that. It's going to be very just general, but then we'll get into the weeds again on Monday on the space, and Hayden will be there. Zen will be there. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Appreciate you.